Let's try this again. I love live TV when things don't work out exactly as you plan. Anyway, I am Julianne Meyer, and you are watching Own Your Wellness, and I'm excited about today. Before we get started in the actual topic of conversation, I want to share a little something that has to do with the with the topic in a roundabout sort of way. So I was talking with a videographer yesterday, I believe it was. And, we were talking about what I wanted for as far as, for what he was going to create for me, because I said I wanted a commercial, like a sizzle reel. And he said, okay, well, what do you want? And I said, well, yeah, I want something that represents me and so I can send out to people. And he's like, okay, but what do you want? Like, what's the goal? And he kept asking me and digging and digging and digging. I got to tell you, it was kind of annoying. But it was necessary. And the reason why is because I was so vague about what it was that I wanted that even if he produced me a really fabulous video, because he does fabulous work, I still wouldn't have gotten the result that I wanted because I never got clear on what it was that I actually wanted. See where I'm going with this as far as resolutions and deciding to make these changes in these habits? So, first step, let's just jump right in. First step to changing your habits or, keeping these resolutions that, we set up for ourselves because New Year's comes along and it's like, oh, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to drink all this water. I'm going to read every single day, meditate, you name it. There's always like something you swear you're going to do. And then you're like, okay, it's January 1st. You know what? I don't feel good. I was up late last night. I'll start tomorrow. And then next day it's something else, or you'll start gung ho and go full blast and then burn out within like 20, 30 days. Most people don't ever keep their resolutions, but the first, it doesn't have very much to do with willpower. That is a little tiny bit of it, but mostly it has to do with a couple of different things. But the first thing I want to talk about is clarity. How clear are you on your goals? Great, you want to lose weight, like I wanted to be seen. I wanted this commercial for myself, right? But why? What was my purpose? Was my purpose, to promote my show? Was my purpose because I'm going to try and bring my show to radio? I'm not going to try. I'm going to bring my show to radio. But the point is, when you are making these resolutions and these goals for yourself, when you just sort of make this haphazard attempt at what it is that you want, you're going to lose your motivation. You're going to lose your, anytime it starts to get tough, you're not going to want to do it. And then once you lose your momentum, it's hard to get back, into the cruising altitude again, as they say. So first of all, you do want to ask yourself these questions, like, why do you want something, for example, so let's say you want to lose weight. Well, why? And it's okay if it's something superficial. And I'm going to be honest with you, a lot of people will not tell you that that's okay because they're like, well, you need to do it for yourself and for all these other reasons. Well, sometimes you need to just get going. And if it's something that is healthy for you, use whatever motivation it is that's going to strike you on that day. So like, I'm going to use addiction as an example. Now, when somebody's getting sober and clean, they'll say other people and like, therapists and counselors and all that, they'll say to the client or to the person in AA, NA, you can't do it for anybody else. You have to do it for yourself. Well, that's all fine and dandy. And it's true because ultimately you do need to do it for yourself. But there's going to be days when you sure as heck don't feel like doing what you said you're going to do. And what is motivating to you? Maybe you have kids. Maybe that's what's going to be the motivation. Like, I'm doing it for them today because me being the reason isn't enough. And you know what? In a perfect world, that would never be the case, but we don't live in a perfect world, right? So you just got to go with what you got to go with. So my point is let's bring it back to clarity. All right. So here's some questions like when it comes to health and wellness in particular, because those are the most popular, resolutions that never get kept. And also this is a wellness show. So some questions to get you going are things like, what lifestyle habits do you engage in it that contribute to your health already? So what are some things that you already do? It's not just about lack, but it is about what you do also do. And that way you can celebrate those wins. So you want to think about all the things you are doing already. That way it feels more like you're complimenting what you've already achieved, right? Instead of it being like, oh my God, I have to lose this weight because I'm so fat and I never lost it after I had the baby. And all, it's almost like a shame cycle. But what are you doing right? So you want to take a look at that. That's one thing that you want to do when you're like trying to decide, get clarity and decide what the real reason behind your goal is, your arbitrary goal. So another one is, you know, if you continue, okay, if you continue in these habits right now, the bad ones, this is a different opposite side. If you continue doing these bad habits, like maybe sitting there and watching TV instead of going to the gym, or going out to walk your dog, or getting fast food every day, things that are not contributing to your health, what will your health look like if you keep doing those things? So that's what think about your pain point. What is your pain point? Because some people are motivated by pain and some people are motivated by pleasure. So you definitely want to think about, what's your life going to look like if you don't change anything? Like if nothing changes, what's it going to be? To me, it's more scary to think that I'd be exactly the same or worse off than actually going through some moments of uncomfortability and changing who I am. And I think most people would agree with that. Maybe not in the moment, but anyway, all right. So then after you've done both of those things, you want to compare, what would it be like if you didn't change? And what would it be like if you did? What would your life possibly look like if you actually made the conscious effort and decision and to keep with these new health goals, these new resolutions? So you want to think about, like, you want to see where all the bonuses would be if you for example, I'm just going to use losing weight because that is like one of the most popular things that people come to me for. So let's say you do lose that weight. Well, what are some benefits? So some benefits are you'll feel better in your skin. Hello, that's a really good one. Another one might be you'd be able to play with your kids again, or your grandkids, depending on your age. Be able to get up off the floor without any issue after playing with your grandkids is a huge win. So these are all things that you want to think about. Like, what are some things that would happen if you actually kept these changes in play? So think about that. And then speaking of loved ones, how do your negative habits affect your loved ones? That's another thing you want to think about, because as much as we like to think that we're independent, self-actualized types of humans and all this, we still don't live on a planet all by ourselves. We still have people that we're surrounded by. So if your negative habit, how do they affect the people around you? Is somebody maybe not doing what they said they're going to do because they see your actions and they're like, well, they're not. So, I don't feel like it today either. Not that you're ever responsible for anybody else, but like I said, sometimes the motivation is like, okay, I don't want them to make that choice, so I'm going to make a better choice for myself. Now, if you've ever seen my show, I'm always talking about how there's 4 degrees of positivity, for lack of better terminology. So if you make a health change in your life, you affect 4 people out, kind of like the Kevin Bacon thing, but 4 people out. It's a healthy ripple effect. So when you just do something for you, you affect a ripple out of 4 people just by doing something for yourself. So never think that you live alone and that you're all by yourself, because you are affecting other people. You never know who's watching. Seriously. All right. So, and like I just sort of mentioned, is like, what kind of positive influence would you have if you did make these changes? So, do you want to make that? Like, maybe that's going to be your motivator for the day. Like, you know what? I really want to inspire somebody else to show them that they can do it too. Well, if they can do it too, then you have to be the one, to blaze the trail. So think about that. And then, another thing that you would really want to think about too is what habits, if you change them, what would it help eliminate. So, for example, if you're not eating well, you might eliminate acid reflux, you might eliminate bloating. So, these are things that you want to think about because sometimes you have to think about how your choices are going to affect you long term. Like if you eat a piece of cake, it might taste good for a few minutes, but if you're allergic to dairy or you have a sensitivity to sugar, is it really worth it? I mean, after you've eaten that piece of cake, because then you're going to be dealing with it after the fact. So these are all things that you have to think about in order to gain more clarity about your goals. So when you have absolute clarity about why you're doing something instead of just some sort of hazy idea, it's a lot easier to be inspired by what it is that you're doing. So that is my main thing as far as that is concerned. But we do need to go to a commercial break. I know it's already that time. Can you believe it? So we'll be right back in just a minute. Welcome back. All right. So we've been talking about keeping resolutions and we were talking about clarity and having clarity about your goals. But there's something else that we need to talk about, and that's actually the planning aspect of it. You may very well have every intention of, following through with whatever goal it is. But if you don't actually plan it into your schedule, into your life, then it's not going to end up happening at some point. And once you fall off the wagon, it's really hard to get back on. So, you want to, in the beginning, it's always a little bit bumpy, but it's always worth it to get through that, takeoff period so that you're at that cruising altitude where all you have to do is just sort of keep doing what you're doing and you stay in the air. You know what I'm saying? But the takeoff is a little rough. So, and it takes more effort. So to start over again, it's kind of like, ugh. So I know it took me a long time to figure this out is that when I thought something was really important to me, that it would just automatically happen because it's really important to me. But it doesn't actually work that way. So let's take exercise, for example. I'm going to use myself. This is going to be the perfect example. I have a wedding coming up and I want to look really good in the wedding. And I mean, I look great now, so it's not like I need to change, but I haven't had a physical goal in a few years, one that I really wanted to achieve. Like when I was training for the sheriff's department, I really needed to be in good physical shape and also mental and emotional, but I really needed my body to be at a certain level of athleticism. And it was really fun for me. It made it really simple for me to follow through with my goal of exercising because I had this end piece in place, that this ultimate goal. And like I said, I have this wedding coming up, so I'm really excited about it and I really want to look good. I mean, if you know how much I spent on my dress, you'd be like, girl, you need to I'm just joking. Anyway, but my point is that I don't exercise in the afternoon on my own. It does not matter if I have any intention, or I mean, every intention of doing it. Even if I have plenty of time, something always ends up happening where I don't do it. I don't end up doing my cardio. I don't end up whatever. The only time I will do exercise in the afternoon is if I am meeting somebody. So you really got to understand the way your brain works and set yourself up for success. So it doesn't matter that, this is a goal and this is really important to me. But if I wait until the afternoon to do my exercise, it's not going to get done. It has to be done in the morning unless I'm meeting a trainer. If I'm meeting a trainer or if I were to go to a class, then that's fine. Then I'll go because I'm accountable to somebody else. But on my own, it's not going to happen. I always think it will, but it's one of those things, the insanity thing, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So in order for you to keep your resolutions, you got to be really honest with yourself. Like if you have time in the mornings, for example, to work out, but you don't feel like it, do it then because you will not do it later. You've already proven that to yourself, right? So whatever the case may be, if you know that you're going to get hungry late at night, then have a little snack that's healthier for you. Don't wait until you're starving and then all of a sudden, break down and eat, binge eat something because you're so hungry and feel guilty about it and promise to do better the next night. And then keep repeating the same cycle. You're not changing, you're not allowing yourself to maybe not be perfect. It's okay to not be perfect. I know it's hard for me to say that, but anyway, the point is that you've got to set yourself up for success. It doesn't happen naturally. And it's okay to stumble and fall and keep going till you figure out what works for you. Most people don't know right away. That's why we have coaches. That's why we have people that hold us accountable, because it helps us get into a groove. Most of my clients, they'll work out with me 3 times a week. And it's not that they need a trainer 3 times a week, but they need the accountability and they need we have good conversations. We talk about things that are going on in their life. So they get more out of it. So if you know that maybe, like I'm a personal trainer, but I have a trainer. And the reason why is because I probably wouldn't show up for myself, in as big of a way as if I knew, somebody else is training me. Or I don't want to use my brain to even think about planning a workout. So, maybe it's more expensive for you to buy things that are pre-chopped, for example, for food. But if you're never going to chop that, those vegetables, then you need to buy the chopped vegetables. Spend a little more cash, set yourself up so that you actually do it. Intending to do something and doing something are not the same thing. What do they say that about intentions or paved the road to hell or something? Anyway. Obviously, I don't remember what that saying is, but I just wanted to share with you that it's really important to set it up and set up a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, all of these things. And especially, and I talk about this a bit, but I really, really want to hone in on this idea. I don't because your body is listening, your brain is listening to the words that you're thinking and you're saying about yourself. So having a cheat day is not a good idea, or having cheat foods, it's not a good idea because then it makes food bad. It's this whole negative back and forth. So what I really would like for you to do is think about it more like planning your treats. It's okay to have treats. It's when you don't plan and you overindulge that it could be an issue, because that's when the shame cycle starts in. That's when all these negative feelings and all of that come through. So you just really want to, reframe the way that you're thinking about these goals too, like in the way you speak to yourself is what I'm getting at. So another thing too about goals and resolutions in particular, since it's almost the new year, is you really want to track what you're doing. I don't care. Maybe you're not good at counting calories, and I am not, but I am good at, because it's not a good idea for me to count calories. And it's not a good idea for a lot of people to count calories, because food can become this whole other addiction mentally. And I don't really want to be thinking about my food constantly. I don't know about you. But, I could take a picture of it. There's ways for me to not count calories. Like if I eat whole foods, like mostly vegetables and fruit with some nuts and, some like beans and things like that then I don't have to worry about how many calories I'm eating because I know that I'm not ever going to overdo red peppers. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, so just make sure that whatever it is that you have a resolution for or a goal in this case, make sure that you're tracking it. See where you are. Plus, there's this really cool dopamine hit that happens. Like if you create a little calendar for yourself and you put a little star up or something like that for each day, then that will help you keep consistent. There's something about that dopamine hit that really helps when you're first starting out. That's why in like AA and NA, when you first start in the program, they'll give you a 24-hour day or 24-hour coin, and then you get a coin every single day up until you're 30 days, and then it's a 60-day coin, and then a 90-day coin. But my point is that there's always this built-in prize that's coming up that you can look forward to and earn. So if you can do that for yourself when it comes to your resolutions and your goals, it really helps with the consistency. So make sure that you add that in. Make sure that you're planning it in everything. And there's another thing that I really want to touch on that's super important. Every time that we make a promise to ourselves, set a goal, make a resolution, and we don't follow through, that's when our self-esteem lowers. That's when we stop trusting ourselves as much because we didn't keep the word to ourselves. We didn't follow through on what we said we were going to do. And that trickles into every other aspect of our lives. So really consider the fact that when you're making these goals and resolutions, you want them to be something that you can keep your word to, because even if you don't think it's a big deal, your brain's always listening, your body's always listening. And there will come a time when it's kind of like, oh, I don't even, yeah, whatever. You just don't even believe that you're going to do it, right? So just remember that. That is so important that you keep your word to yourself. And actually, that's great for business too. I mean, that's something that will set you ahead and set you apart from everyone else. There is so rare. It's so simple, but it is so rare to find somebody who does exactly what they say they're going to do when they say they're going to do it. Most people don't. So if you can start doing that, your self-esteem will grow, your confidence will grow, and it's a lot easier to do something when you're feeling good about yourself instead of shaming yourself into doing something. Nobody wants to feel bad. So if you're shaming yourself constantly, then it's life should be more fun than that. And we should be our own biggest cheerleaders and not our biggest bullies. I know it's easier said than done, but it does take practice, but it is a possibility. And it's something that I highly, highly recommend that you consider doing for yourself. Because if you think about some of the stuff that you say to yourself, would you ever say it to somebody else? Probably not. And if you wouldn't say it to somebody else, why are you saying it to you? Really that simple. Think about it like that. I have a friend that Cami, she's a wonderful woman, and she has this other friend of ours. I'm not going to say her name just in case. But she said, don't, because she would always be talking, not Cami, but my other friend would always be talking bad about herself. And so Cami would say, don't talk about my friend like that. I don't let anybody talk about her like that. And it makes a difference when it was said and put to her that way. I was like, oh yeah. So be careful about how you speak to yourself. And, one of the ways to keep your word is to make your goals bite-sized. I'm not saying have small ones. I'm saying chunk them down into daily doable things. So if what is it? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Now, if all you can think about is like the whole elephant, it's hard to get going. So it's great to have these huge, big goals, but chunk it down either, into quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily. You want to have everything. That way you can keep track of what you're doing. And like I said, you get those dopamine hits. So it really makes a difference. All right. So it is time for us to go to commercial again. We'll be right back after these messages.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
You guys just missed something absolutely horrific. My fire alarm just went off during the break. Thank the Lord that my other half was able to turn that off before I came back. Otherwise, we were going to have to figure something out. That was ear piercing to say the least. Anyway, I'm a little discombobulated because of that. But something that I was thinking about during the commercial break before before I lost my hearing was that, I always say hi to everybody who's watching us live, but I never say hi to everybody who is watching us on a replay or Netflix style on Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, all these other beautiful places, including YouTube or even Facebook. Anyway, hello. I just want to acknowledge everyone that is joining us, and hopefully you are getting some value from this. And please do connect with me either on my website or through Instagram. Would love to hear from you, and also possibly hear some of your questions that you may have for me, because I am a health and wellness expert, and that's what I'm here for. And having said that, it is time for... Okay, we are back. We are back. I have, for anybody, this is my grandpa's handmade bowl that he gave me, made for me. Let's get with the first question here. Okay. This is so, okay, I don't plan this. This is, how can I become inspired to make healthy lifestyle habits and choices? We've been talking about that this whole show, right? So, here's the thing too is, like I said briefly when we were talking before on the show, is, some people have pain points and some are motivated by pain, and some people are motivated by pleasure. So if you are motivated by pleasure, punishing yourself constantly, or waiting until things get really bad is not going to be the way to motivate yourself. Now, if if you're motivated by pleasure, you got to think about all the good things that are going to happen and changes that are going to be made as soon as you make those changes in your life. So that's the motivation. But it's kind of, motivation's like brushing your teeth. You have to re-inspire yourself every day. It doesn't just last, right? So, you've got to find ways to keep yourself inspired and motivated. Some ways you could do that are by even watching Instagram videos of your favorite exercises, people doing exercises. For me, I love Kaisa Fit. She's amazing. This woman is like, and I mean this the most beautiful way, like a beast. She is by far the most athletic person I have ever seen. She's amazing. She can do everything. I mean, we're talking mobility, we're talking strength, we're talking balance, everything. She could do it all. Most people are good at one thing, but she is good at everything. So, with seeing her do these things, I'm like, I'm going to try that move. So that keeps me motivated and inspired. So you need to find your things too. Maybe you could pick some sort of affirmations that remind yourself of why you're doing what you're doing. Like Hal Elrod in his book, The Miracle Morning, or actually on his website, he has different affirmations that you can use. And there are things like, that I'm going to love everyone unconditionally because everybody deserves to be loved that way. So these are all things that you could do if, depending on what you're trying to do. Like if you're trying to eat more healthy in a way, like maybe cut out sugar, then you could say things to yourself like, I understand that everything rests on my health and wellness, and that I choose my food for what it can do for me as opposed to how it tastes for that moment. These are all things that you need to remind yourself of, like all the reasons why you're doing what you're doing when you don't feel like it. The other thing too is you got to change your perception. Like if you are always taking your temperature about, well, I don't, I'm not sure if I feel like doing it, then it's never going to get done, because the way your brain works, it's going to keep you from feeling slightly uncomfortable, even if it can. So keep that in mind. You don't need to take your temperature before you do something every single time. It's like you don't, and I say this all the time, but you don't, it's not a question about whether or not you're going to brush your teeth. You're going to brush your teeth. So why not make other habits in your life like that? Just non-negotiable. That's just what you do. Like I am an athlete, so I exercise. Or I do races, or I'm a healthy eater, so I eat whole foods. Pasture raised meats, or things like that. These are all things that you could be saying to yourself in order to keep yourself motivated, right? And here's another one too, for the people that are motivated by pain. Something you could do too is if you creates a goal with a negative consequence. So if you don't do this goal, then this happens. So some people do something like, well, I've got to post a picture of me in a bikini on this day if I don't, do what I say I'm going to do, or donate money to a cause that I can't stand, that I'm vehemently opposed to. So these are all ideas to keep you going when you don't feel like it, because we all get a case of the efforts and we're just like, I don't want to do it, and I just don't. And it's really hard to keep yourself going when you feel like that. But you got to remember why you're doing what you're doing and think about the bigger picture instead of just that moment. Take a step back. They say you can't see the forest through the trees. Well, take a step back so you can see the forest. All right. Let's see what we got here for another question. Sorry, still. All right. What are some simple ways that I can improve my nutrition today? I love this question. There are a lot of different ways that you can instantly improve your nutrition. One is you can start cooking for yourself. Actually cooking, not just throwing something in the microwave. Not that there's necessarily anything wrong with the microwave. I'm just saying that, you don't want to do it in plastic either. So, start cooking for yourself. All right. And actually, in our tips and tricks segment, I have a few tools that will actually help you do that. So stay tuned for that. So other things too is to stop eating processed food. Try and incorporate at least minimally processed food. Not everything is going to be, we don't all have all the time in the world to make our bread from scratch and, whatever. I mean, it would be great if we could, but there's a lot of things we can't do time-wise, or even maybe desire to do. So let's say you are not a cook and you still want to eat healthy and you don't want to eat out. Consider a meal replacement system. So what I mean by meal replacement, I'm not talking shakes, although for some people that might be good. But that is a catch-all. But what I'm referring to is there are meal delivery systems that they can bring you your food, and they've got the protein you want, they've got the carbs that you want. They can be vegetarian, vegan, keto, you name it, paleo, you name it, and they just deliver the food for you. So all you have to do is heat it up. There's nothing wrong with that. Yeah, it costs more, but it also saves you in time. So if you make, say, $200 an hour, really is it that big of a deal? If, you spend $10 on a meal, especially when you're making yourself healthy, how much are you spending on your insurance? Your health insurance. So think about that. So those are a couple of ideas. Another one is to replace fresh fruit versus fruit snacks, or like even dried fruit. That's an easy way to lower the sugar, and also it's more filling and you get the fiber. So but mostly it's less sugar and it's more filling. So keep that in mind. There's other ways that you can do it too. So if you wanted to maybe incorporate some nuts into your diet, they need to be raw. There's nothing really wrong with nuts. They're a high calorie, yes, but they're also healthy if they are raw, depending on, what you're doing. So, I mean, in moderation, right? Everything's in moderation. But yeah, just basically the main one though is to start cooking more for yourself. And here's another one: drink more water. And I can say that across the board to just about everybody because almost nobody drinks enough water. So, all right, there was that question for you. Let's get on to the next. I only have a couple left in here. Oh, it's time to hit the emails to pick out some more. All right, here we go. Oh, I love this question. How do I know if I'm too stressed? If you think you're wondering if you're too stressed, then you probably are. I mean, that's just the easiest way to tell, because you don't wonder if you're too happy, do you? That being said, there are some signs that you are under a lot of stress. So some of the signs are anger, irritability. There's some restlessness. Then you could have brain fog even, as well as racing thoughts, that monkey mind going bananas. And then also sleep troubles. There's a lot of problems with sleep. When you're stressed, you can't sleep because, once again, the racing thoughts, even like the irritability and the restlessness can keep you up at night. So those are definitely signs that you have too much stress. Now, I'm not saying that those are the only, those symptoms they could represent something else that's going on with you. But if you have a clean bill of health and you're experiencing these things, then yeah, you're too stressed. All right, we're going to do one more here. Maybe two more. I don't know. We're going to see. All right. Okay. Is there such a thing as working out too much or too hard? Yes, there is such a thing as working out too much and too hard. Usually when somebody decides they're going to get healthy, especially in the new year, New Year's resolution, they'll go from never working out to working out every single day for an hour. Oh my goodness, please don't. Not that there's anything inherently wrong with that kind of movement, but the thing is that your body's not used to it. It's kind of like warming up the engine, and not just the engine, like your body can handle it. Don't get me wrong. Your body can handle that kind of movement if it's going from nothing, but you will burn out really quickly if that's what you go to, because your brain is stronger than your body in like deciding what you're going to do and how you're going to show up. So start off slower. If you're not like playing or training for a race, or planning on trying out for Playboy or something like that, then maybe try not to go too hard. It's okay if it takes you a little bit of time to build up your strength and lose that weight too. So, and then too hard, absolutely. For working out too hard, you can absolutely work out too hard. Think about CrossFit. Now, that is great for people who want to do CrossFit. I'm not trying to put it down, but what I am saying about it is that if you've ever talked to a physical therapist, most of their younger, we're talking young people too, like 20s and 30s in there for trying to rehab their knees and shoulders and things like that because of things like CrossFit. So, and even just running is hard on your knees. So you got to really think about what is the most important to you. Like if you really love running, I would say keep doing it, but just be aware that you are running, and that is that, it's hard on your knees. So, and your feet for that matter. So, there is such a thing as working out too hard, but you've got to start listening to your body. Your body will tell you when it needs to rest. And if you don't listen to it, it's going to break down, and you're going to have to, because it will say, no more, I am not doing this ever again. So yes, you can work out too hard, and you can work out too much. Start off slower. That's the thing too about working out too much, is people don't remember the rest cycle. You need to rest. Your body needs to rest. That's when your muscles are building, is when you're resting. That pain that you feel after, let's say you've lifted weights, is that your muscles have torn apart and now they're rebuilding back together bigger. And so you need that time for them to be able to complete what they're doing. It's okay to take breaks. It's not going to slow you down. And if you don't sleep enough, you're definitely working out too much. I don't care. Like, you are definitely working out too much. So just be careful with what it is that you're doing. All right. So that was kind of fun, right? All right. Are you guys ready for some tips and some tricks? Okay. So, I was talking earlier about making things easier for yourself and cooking for yourself. Well, I'm going to show you guys a couple of tools that are absolutely amazing. And when I first received this one, I was like, what is this? Here it is. It's a little wooden stick. For those of you who were like me and did not know what this is, it's for the oven. So this part here, oops, sorry. This part here, this is to pull the rack out. And this little part here is to push the rack back in so you don't burn yourself and you don't burn your oven mitt. Isn't that amazing? It works really, really well. So you can pull it out and push it back in. I don't know where you get this, but I'm sure Amazon would be fine. If not, like Walmart or something. And then here's another one. This one, I like to make my things cute. So it makes it more fun when I'm cooking, right? So this guy is also for the oven. And this is for like your casserole dishes when you're trying to pull out your casserole dish, or like your muffin tin, or whatever. So there's even like a little tooth on here. So here, so you can see his face. There's a little tooth, so you can pull it out like that also. But this will also, it's easier. You're a lot less likely to burn yourself when you use one of these. So remember, for the oven and for the actual dish that's in the oven. All right. So those are two. And then this is the most amazing tool. I mean, this has made such a difference. Yeah, they're scissors. Want to know what kind of scissors? Look at these guys. These are like the coolest kitchen scissors in the entire world. You know what they do? They chop like parsley and cilantro and mint and all that into little tiny bits. So you don't have to sit there and chop, 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 chop with your knife forever and then get all smashed up on your, cutting board. You can literally just chop them with this. So it's amazing. And it's dishwasher safe. So you can put it in the dishwasher, no problem. Mine's a little dirty, because I use it all the time. But this will save you so much time. And this one, I think I got at Walmart also. But I'm just saying, like, these are all easy tools for you to get for yourself. And yeah, it just makes life so much easier. Okay. So here's one more thing, and this has nothing to do with cooking in the kitchen, but here's the deal. All right. So if you have ever, this is actually has to do also with the topic at hand of, like goals, and you'll understand in a second what I'm getting at. So I just started this new skin regimen, and I don't know about you, but okay. So now I'm using like retinol and salicylic acid and all these things because I'm getting older, and also my skin was not as beautiful as it used to be. And I got tired of looking at it. And I finally found a website that resonated. Well, not a website, but a YouTube channel that resonated with me as to like what they teach and the products that they recommend. And it might work for you too. It's Doctorly on YouTube. Doctor with an LY. Two guys, two dermatologists, and they have different videos. But anyway, I'm doing like this whole, program here. And I tried retinol in the past, but it like made my skin really red and really, I don't know, irritable and all this. So I was like, oh my God, this doesn't work for me. And then like my pores looked worse. And I'm like, oh my God, but nobody ever told me until I looked it up. Thank you, YouTube. Thank you, Dr. Google. Your skin goes through a purging process. So all the stuff that is right underneath there that would take maybe like 2 months to come out, it all comes out at once and it's all there. So like your pores look gross because they look all filled up with crap, and like all these pimples are coming out. Like some of them are still under the skin, but some of them are like actual pimples depending on, who you are. And it's like you're sitting there in this point, right? And it's like you're doing this to get better. like better skin. And now you've had the worst breakout of your life and your pores look like awful. And you're thinking, oh my God, is this working? Like, is my skin irritated? What's going on? It's purging. That's all it is. Your skin is purging. And it's kind of the same idea when you're doing like these resolutions. There's going to be a point where it's like, is this working? Is this good for me? And you got to keep moving through that to the other side. You got to get through the bad to get to the good. So that is my tip and my trick for skincare, is that there's actually purging. There's a purging process. So keep that in mind if you ever decide to start a new regimen. And then also something that they said on the show or on their YouTube channel that I really liked was, if you're doing the retinol, put a small lotion on first and then put it on and then again, so that if you have super sensitive skin like I do, you don't get that irritation. So anyway, that was that. So check out Dr. Lee if that resonates with you, because I had been to professional skincare people and they never told me about the purging, and they never told me that, all these other things. So now it makes sense, right? Why didn't anybody tell me this? But anyway, it is time for... Okay, this is probably one of my favorite things to do. All right. So the first book I'm going to talk about really quick, I don't know why I feel compelled to share this one, because it's not necessarily health and wellness, but for those of you who don't know, I went to art school in Italy and I studied art, and I love it. And, I always felt like I couldn't draw or all these things. Turns out I really can, and I'm good at it. But like anything, you have to get over yourself and even try. So this is one of the books that made a huge difference for me, drawing on the right side of the brain. So if you have, this is a perfect Christmas gift is what I'm getting at. This book made such a huge difference, and I highly recommend it for anybody who is curious about drawing, curious about, their artistic abilities. And this is literally for anybody. Yes, I was recommended this by my art teacher in Italy, and that's why I got it. But it is so good. And I've recommended it to so many budding artists. It's a good resource. So I highly recommend it. It's by Betty Edwards, and she's written a few other books, but this one's my favorite out of all of hers. So that's what I recommend. And it's amazing. It would absolutely change your mind on what's possible for you to be able to do. So if you ever, said like, I'd like to draw, but I'm not good at it, check out that book. Or if you have like a kiddo or a significant other who's into drawing or art, it's a really good gift. All right. And then the other book I have is The Happiness Project. Now, this is an amazing book by Gretchen Rubin. And I've read this book, I can't even tell you how many times. Back in the day when I lived on the East Coast and I had like no money, I would go to the bookstore. I don't know why I didn't even consider going to the library at the time, but I would go to the bookstore and sit there and read this book, and among other books. But this is such a good book. And the whole thing is about how she spent a year trying to make herself happy on purpose. So she would, it's like the tagline on here says, or why I spent a year trying to sing in the morning, clean my closets, fight right, read Aristotle, and generally have more fun. So she breaks each month down into like different sections on how to increase her happiness. And considering it's a holiday season and it's not necessarily the best time of year for everyone, I really recommend that book. It's inspiring. It's what she did was like amazing. That's a serious commitment. I'm glad she wrote a book about it, because otherwise, yeah. But you can start, it's a whole movement. You can start your own happiness project as well, and she'll teach you how to do it. But I love the idea of taking, your own happiness into your own hands instead of relying on outside influences and people and things to make you happy, because people and things change and disappear. And so if you can, and plus, it's like, what was that? I think it was George Carlin who said something about like, if you're hungry, slapping sandwiches on yourself is never a good idea. And happiness is the same way. I'm totally murdering that quote, but it's that idea of like looking outside of yourself for something that is internal. So definitely recommend that book. It's inspiring. I have never been able to do the whole year, not anywhere near what she did, but she set her resolutions and she charted everything. And, she did all the stuff that I was talking about earlier and then some. So, if you're passionate about something, then you can go for it. So, this is almost the end of the show, but I just kind of wanted to wrap up on the idea of the resolutions. And here's the thing, sometimes we pick certain resolutions and goals because we think that that's, like what we should be picking, but we're actually not really that interested in it. So it's okay to let that idea go. I'm giving you permission now to let that idea go, because some of it is like, it's not actually that important to you. You think it should be. And you think if you make a resolution that it will actually happen. But maybe it's just not that important to you. So that's why the clarity is so important, that you figure out why you want what you want, because you might be surprised. It could be something else completely different. And, you want to be enthusiastic about your goals and your resolutions, not just like, because starting off like that, I mean, who would keep with it? You know what I'm saying? Let's think about that for a second. Who would keep with something that they're regretting doing or like not looking forward to all of the time, right? So anyway, that is kind of what I was thinking about as far as resolutions. So I just wanted to say that thank you for watching. And also on Monday, we are going to be talking about pills, pills, pills. Are they good for you? Are they not? And we'll be talking about what doctors actually know about medications, and if a medication is good for you and how to tell, and also vitamins and over-the-counter medications, how to tell the difference between brands and generics, and is there a difference? All of these things we're going to be talking about on Monday. And I'm actually uniquely qualified to talk about it, considering I worked in pharmacy for so long and I wanted to become a pharmacist. So that's why I went to school for biochemistry. Long story there. But anyway, thank you so much for watching the show, and enjoy your weekend, everyone. And we'll see you again on Monday. And until then, yeah, just enjoy yourselves, right? All right. Bye. Bye for now.